Up next, we have a gentleman who is no stranger to the locals here in the Toronto section. Always a strong supporter of our group, Mr. David F.E. Corley. Educated at Christ Church Catholic Cathedral School, Oxford and King's, Canterbury. David came to Canada as a teen, worked in film and video production, and with his wife Sue, established DSC Labs in 1962. Patents include diacrylic additive printer, vibrationless electronic shutter, ambient light illuminator, optical signal generators, passport control, monitor color matching, others pending. David is the only Canadian to be honored with a Fuji Gold Medal. He received a special Gemini Award for outstanding technical achievement and has worked with many SMPTE, IEEE, and other engineering committees. A life fellow of SMPTE, David was elected Canadian Governor of the Society and also served 2 terms on the board as Director of Education. Mr. Corley?
Hello everybody. My God, I'm the only person here with a tie. Now, how do I bounce this thing?
So you know how you spent 3-6 months developing your social media interface, and then
Okay.
strike phase where you're basically
I actually had notes, but I didn't bring them in paper. I thought they were on my computer, they come up on the screen. So I was going to wing it anyway, so this will be even more winging it. When I hear Mary and Scotch talking about, well, that was a very, I sound quite an impressive individual on that thing, don't I? The fact is, I left school about 13 and a half. But I don't feel that badly because Richard Branson left, I think, when he was 10. So I'm way behind him. But anyhow, I'm going to talk a little about the past, how I got into the business, and then, there we go, the present, where we are now, and the future. We're going to talk a little history, colorimetry concepts, color standards, test chart types, and then we'll have questions and answers. We'll have questions, I hope, and answers. So, anyhow, and please feel anytime you want to ask me anything about what we're talking about, that's just fine too. So I'd rather it be a free-wheeling sort of thing. I got into this business in a very peculiar manner. Believe it or not, that's what I was doing when I came to Canada. Puppet shows. You might wonder, how the blazes can a guy who's dangling a bunch of marionettes get into film and television? Well, it happened, I guess some of you might even know of the Brass Rail Tavern here. I haven't been in there since, but we also performed there. The Casino Theatre, we performed in universities and kids' parties, anything for $1. So Underwood typewriters saw the puppets and they thought, boy, that'd make a great film, teaching kids to type. So we made a model typewriter and a little puppet, and we had Ruth Treen, who was the world's fastest typist, and this will make you envious. She did 140 words a minute on that manual typewriter without any mistakes. She was incredible. In fact, anyhow, we were going to make this, we were going to do the puppetry, and my father, who's a bit of an impresario, said, who's making the film? We were going to get $3,500, and he heard that the guy was going to make the film was going to get $5,000. So he said to Underwood, well, we make films. And he got the contract. And he said, David, you better figure out how to make a film. So we bought an old Bolex camera and I built editing equipment out of camera parts and an old Ampro projector sound head, and we made this 20-minute film in color, and Underwood were delighted. So they said, we're the best film ever made, how to teach kids how to type. So, well, the puppet business was sort of difficult. It was a tough business, traveling all over the country and so on. So now we had this new talent, and we started making TV commercials. In between times, my dad, I became associate producer of a TV show, QED, which we shot it up in Asia That's CTV, well, what was then CFTO, I guess. And I had the great pleasure to meet and work with the leading people throughout the world, literally. This young lady who you probably know, had a lot of fun with her, Eleanor Roosevelt. I was able also to take pictures of these people, which was fun. Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward were having wonderful fun with them. Sue and I had an old beaten-up Peugeot, and we were meeting Paul and Joanne at the airport. I thought, we can't meet them in that, so I rented a convertible Ford Meteor or something. And anyhow, we got on very well together. We did 2 shows, and then coming back from the studio to take them to their hotel, the Park Plaza, Paul said, David, do we have any beer left? I said, well, yeah, sure, I'm sure we had, because we always had refreshments after the show. So then Joanne, who was incidentally 8 months pregnant, she was in the back with Sue. I was in the front driving with Paul. He said, oh, I'd like one too. So we stopped at the side of the 401, believe it or not. Went open the trunk, got each a bottle of beer, and there we were driving along the 401 in a convertible. Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward drinking beer, and I didn't know whether I wanted to be stopped for the publicity, which would have been fabulous. However, we weren't, we got away with it, and anyhow, the next day, we took them to the airport, and I was giving Dave Paul a check, and he said, oh, look, I had so much fun. Give it to a school or something. So that is what we ultimately did. And anyhow, this was my father with Aldous Huxley. And we then all got into the film business, and Sue and I had 4 small kids at home. We did anything for $1. We made store signs for A&B food stores. We did almost anything. We also did more and more film production. And when we went from black and white to color, that was incidentally was our old clapperboard. And to keep the labs honest, we put in a color bar. And this was the first DSC test pattern. So we did really very well. We got the Rose Bowl for the best Canadian commercial, but also got a bronze at the International in New York City. Believe it or not, we got $500 for that commercial. And we were up against $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 commercials. So I was not happy with the way the color looked when our film was being reproduced. So I phoned up the CBC and spoke to Roger Ross, who was a leading light of SMPTE. And he said, come on down and we will discuss the whole thing. So I went down and we looked at the telecine chains and ran a film on it, and indeed it didn't look as good as it looked on the screening room wall. So we said, something's funny's going on. And I checked in there at 2:30 in the afternoon. I figured I'd be there for about half an hour. I left the building at 11:30 at night, just as they were playing the national anthem. You know what the national anthem was? Anybody?
Cool. So thank you so much, everyone.
It was God Save the Queen in those days. God Save the King. Oh Canada, actually that was created, we accepted that in 1980. So anyhow, I went home to think about this and start learning, because as I say, I had a very meager education and it was very interesting, but what was going on? Why was the film look great? Black and white film looked good on television, but color film didn't. So we thought about this. Then I started learning about the visible spectrum. And we got gamma rays, X-rays, UVs, and all the rest. The visible light is a very, very narrow spectrum, going from 400 to 700 nanometers approximately. Does everybody know where red falls in the spectrum? Does anybody know? Come on, surely. Sue knows, around 600. So you've got, you can see from the graph here, red's around 600, green's around 500, and blue. Then you get down into ultraviolet and so on. So then I got thinking all sorts of things. Why is the sky blue? What color is the sky? Think about it. You go out there at night, it's not very blue. You go there in the daytime, and have I gone through 2 slides? No. Oh, well yeah, let's talk about visible spectrum. We see, what would you say produced this spectrum? You've got there very, very little, no blue, lots of green, and some red. What would make that? A banana. You're right. What would make this? This you've got more red, more green. No, you've got more red, the red's higher. So this was a marigold. So I was beginning to get the hang of exactly how this color thing worked. Here's another one. Not as much red, more green. Oh, it's a lemon. Okay, so this is how I learned color the hard way, or the easy way, if you like, the fun way. Then I learned about Callia, and this is where we get into why is the sky blue? And why is the sky bluer up here than down there? It's getting more light and more white here. Anybody know? Oh, no takers? Come on. Think about it. Exactly. It's dirt and muck in the atmosphere, and so when the sun is overhead, there's less of it, and it's been scattered, and so we're seeing a darker blue. But then what happens in the evening? Why does the sky suddenly go red? What's happening there? Think about it. In the evening, the sun's going through a much denser layer of dirt and mess. So what is happening is that the dirt in the atmosphere scatters the blue, and that's why in the daytime you get the blue sky. And yet in the evening, when the sun's down, it's crawling through, and it's all we're seeing coming through are the red, are the longer wavelengths. So I went back to the telecine and we discussed this, and long story short, the piece of film they were using to line up the telecine chain was black and white, which is a silver image, which was scattering a lot of the blue light and some of the other rays. So I propose that they should be using a dye image film to line up the camera, dye image grayscale. So Roger Ross said, well, if you're so damn smart, why don't you make us one? So this was quite a challenge. So I went home, I got on to Kodak and told them the tolerances we wanted to make it to. They said it's physically impossible, that's 10 times the standard commercial tolerances. So we then went back to the drawing board, we modified densitometers, spectrophotometers, and ultimately came up with that test slide. These were used by the CBC and CPD, and then gradually they went all over the States and eventually around the world. So this time, Roger Ross, who was a leading light of SMPTE, said, you've got to get involved with SMPTE. Well, in those days, right now, you can buy a membership. In those days, you had to be proposed by 2 leading engineers. Well, here was this uneducated git being proposed, and anyhow, they got me into SMPTE. And I wrote a paper. We gave a trilogy of papers. Stan Quinn, who was the chief engineer in engineering headquarters in Montreal, CBC engineering headquarters, which was the second largest in the world after the BBC in England. So we gave a paper in Washington, and it was later published in the journal. And then I've done a bunch of SMPTE papers. Then I got on to getting on to why, when we're all using the NTSC system, why are we not producing NTSC color charts and color slides? Does anybody know the answer for that? I don't think many do. It's really very simple. The NTSC system will give you much better color. You've got much more saturation in the greens. And it would have been a much better system. But when they made television sets to that standard, you had to look at them in a darkened room. And so when they were selling them at Macy's and Gimbel's or wherever they sell TV sets, Eaton's and Simpsons and so on in those days, nobody would buy them. So the TV set manufacturers said, this is no good, we're going to make our own brighter monitor. So they lowered the standard and came up with the current standard that they had in those days. Well then, CBC measured those to see what the values were and said, now, David and Sue, you better make us slides produced to the color of the monitor. Because whatever color you're working with, ultimately you're using the primary colors of the display device. We call them typical modern phosphors. And they were we measured a whole bunch of TV sets, and then Europe did much the same thing. And I had proposed to the Canadian Telecasting Practices Committee and Lloyd Harrop that we should accept this as the Canadian standard. This we did, and then EBU, the European Broadcast Union, came up with numbers that were virtually identical to ours. So I said to CTPC, Standards Committee, this is ridiculous that we have a separate standard. Why can't we go with the European standard? So that's what we did for a short while, until SMPTE, I love them dearly, but made one big mistake. They rubber stamped the Conrack monitor, and that is what SMPTE stood for. Now this was wonderful. We made charts to SMPTE, which looked wonderful in the TV stations. The only problem was that everybody's TV sets at home, the millions of them, were working to a different standard. So, luckily, the difference is, in fact, we had users in the States, clients, who actually preferred to use the EBU. We made charts in both EBU and SMPTE. They used EBU ones because they knew that in the home people were getting more accurate reproduction. So anyhow, this ultimately got wrung out so that 709 came along, and you can see how close actually these are. Although we say there are differences, they're really very, very close. This shows the difference on a vectorscope, but when you run, this is designed for a pattern for 709, and how you have to set it up, that little offset, if you want to make it look to SMPTE standard. Those differences were very small compared to the differences in those days between a computer graphics monitor and some other television set manufacturers. So, although there were differences, they were relatively minor. Let's talk a little about colorimetry and the problems that many are getting into. These are the characteristic curves of a standard 709 camera. The red, green, blue sensor, red, blue, green sensitivity curves. Who knows what that is? I bet no one. That is neutral. That is a neutral white or close to white on a piece of color film. So this shows you why, when they were lining up a telecine chain to a black and white, the black and white is relatively flat. The color picture, the pictures we were getting out of the telecine chain were pretty bad, until we made a slide that was a grayscale slide that had those same characteristic curves. Then you get into the issues of not all cameras are created equal. I'm sure some of you have seen, you buy two cameras of the same make and model, and you'll get slightly different pictures. This is because there are tolerances within each camera. There's another thing here that's going on. The two traces at the top, the dotted one and the solid line, shows you the difference between a white test chart, one of our white test chart, and a piece of paper. Nearly all paper that you buy is slightly blue. It has a blue bump at the end. So if you had, so here we have the paper and the test chart. So if you had two cameras with slightly different characteristics, whether you align them up with the blue paper, a piece of paper, or a proper test chart, with the paper you're going to get inaccurate reproduction. This is, anybody know what this is? That you should know, everybody in SMPTE should know, that is the D65 curve. And so, what happens when you get a fluorescent light and you have a system designed for D65? You've got these camera curves. They could be different from one camera to the next. They're going to reproduce the color, the lighting differently. We're seeing this a lot also with LEDs. LEDs are wonderful. They're cool, they're efficient, but they're not full spectrum. They're very narrow. Some of them are very, very narrow spectrum. They have a wicked blue light, which I am concerned about, and I spoke to an eminent optical doctor in Europe, and they're actually doing tests to see if these things damage monkey's eyes. They're working with doing monkeys. Because we have three senses in the human eye. We've got the red, green, and blue. The red and the green can heal themselves, the blue can't. So if we're damaging the blue senses in our eyes, I don't know what the result is going to be. This was something that I was querying. So anyhow, the same thing occurs down at the red end of the spectrum. This, I think, is an HMI lamp. So what's the answer? Simple, an accurate color chart. This is most people don't need all these, but this is our basic color chart where the colors are designed to reproduce in the vectorscope boxes. Now this is very hard to make. These colors are very difficult to make, and consequently the charts have to be, we have a lot of waste, let's put it that way. Because when we print one of these, if one of those colors or grays is out of tolerance, then the thing is garbage. So producing them is quite difficult. Nevertheless, our charts are used all around the world, and 3D, 2D. This is at Sky Television, one of their programs. That's a special chart that we made for them. That's another long story, but it's the bottom line was that everybody's gone crazy about high saturation and high dynamic range. In my view, this is complete and utter nonsense. Nothing more, nothing less. Because the average scene, you will never see any colors that are great. I say about a traffic light or neon lights, neon signs and that sort of thing have higher saturation colors. But normally the most important colors are those closest to white, skin tones. If you see a film and the road looks blue or pink, you'll say, hey, there's something wrong with that. It should look gray. And so the tones closest to neutral are vitally important. We hear various people send in, I think this is the closest our chart's ever been to the North Pole. I think that's about where the road ends in northern Finland. This is lining up cameras at NASA. This was at Sochi. This is the local fellow, James. What's James? Anybody know this guy? James Clark? James Clark, yeah. And that's at a World Cup soccer. So that's all very wonderful. They work. Now we've totally rewritten the book, if you like. We're rewriting it, making it much easier. You don't have to use instruments. We're calling it ChromaMatch. It provides total image control, literally from scene to screen. This is part of the system. A perfect reference, which you can set up to match different types of equipment. So that you can line up your monitor, and this is different applications. Do you think color changes with or the gray changes with color? One would tend to think not, but this is not true. ChromaMatch comes in different models. The principle is very, very simple. You shoot the chart, then you have a digital reference, and you match your chart, the chart that you shot to the digital reference. When it matches, then you know that your color was accurate as you were shooting. So this is the screen around, this thing here, which you use for lining up monitors. This we're just talking about. There you'll see the road and the whites are all pretty much the same color. And yet, look at the skies. Now, here the grayscale is pretty much staying the same, but look what's happening to the color. So because people who say, I just shoot a grayscale chart, they're really shooting themselves in the foot, because there's no knowing that the color is going to be accurate, particularly when using different cameras under peculiar lighting conditions. So this is the streamline thing. So there you can see how easy it is to match your monitor to the, and if you want to know how much the thing is out, you can rotate the knob on this thing and see how many levels the thing is out. So, ChromaMatch in production. This is the way it works, a simple way. You shoot it on the set or on location, bring it into post, bring in your digital image, superimpose it, match them for size, then match them for color, and then bingo, you've got accurate color. One of the features of ChromaMatch is that one size fits all. This thing, that screen is 10 times the size. You just move it back until it lines up, and you can line it up. You can shoot front projection, rear projection, any size, providing the image is slightly larger than the ChromaMatch. Sorry, screen aligner, I don't even know the name of it. So the other thing that is a huge benefit of this, that people are going to get eventually, is that if you get most of the image lines up well, but you have certain colors that are out, this can be because your lighting that you are using, the light had a hole in the spectrum now. And so this then lets you immediately see whether your light source was good, and it gives you a way of trying to figure out, you can compare different light sources on the set and that sort of thing. You can match them. So ChromaMatch has we're making it in a whole many different forms. We've got the digital patterns, we've got the real patterns, we've got even these little ones we call selfies, or self-filter. And we're doing special SMPTE versions, incidentally, to support the society. This is another cute device we come up with. Keeps the charts clean. You get on the set, just pop it open, then pop it closed, and it stays nice and clean. And so these are different applications. That's using it in a theater. You can see the screen line is probably 20 feet, 30 feet away from the screen, but you can still match it. It'll match. And then we have another product. Oh, I don't know what I'm showing there. Oh, yes, I do. This is, how do I go back on this thing? Is it that? Yes. This is the test chart that you would be using. We have a program that every year we send out this little disc, which you then stick on your test chart, and it shows you how much your charts change. So we're very much environmentalists, drive electric cars, and run our business runs on ground source and heating and so on. We didn't like the idea of people trading in slides and charts unnecessarily. So this way they don't have to. They join this, and for a relatively small amount of money each year, we send out that little thing which they stick on. They can see exactly how much, if the chart's changed. If it has, then they think they want to replace it, we will trade it in at a good discount. These are the SMPTE versions, which are unique. We've designed them with Peter and Amy to be unique strictly for SMPTE, to help SMPTE make more money. So the screener line, these are some of the DSC innovations over the years. But anyhow, they're all, and that's about all she wrote. So thank you very much. Thank you, Scott. Mary.